Yes.
But yeah, just to start things off, people have the opportunity to submit questions through the Q&A button, but we're going to start with the conversation first. I just want to give a big shout out to the film's director, Jean-Simon Chartier.
Yes.
He did such an incredible job with this. And so I just wanted to ask, like, how you got to working with Jean-Simon and how this documentary came about in the first place.
Hold on, I'm going to pin someone was nice enough to put the, there it is. Okay, I pinned the link if you guys want to go watch the movie now. Well, not now, but after we're done talking. So how did I meet Jean-Simon? So
yeah.
he had come down to shoot something for Canadian television. It was just a short, I think like a short piece related to plastic surgery and social media and that kind of stuff. I think it was just a short snippet in a much larger piece he was doing for Canadian television.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how I met him. It was a few years ago. And then he called me back like 6 months, a year later. He said, "Hey, would you mind if we maybe thought about doing a documentary, just following you around for maybe make a longer thing out of it?" And I said, "What's it going to cost me?" And he said, "Nothing." I said, "Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. You want to come follow?" Absolutely. And so he came down and he spent some time with my family shooting in the house and at the office and then I guess he made like a little trailer, and then he got more funding and then came back and shot the whole movie. So it was like it was over 2 years at least, maybe 3 years even, that it was shot.
Yeah, and did you have any hesitations when he first asked you? Is that a thing kind of you thought about for a while, or was it like an obvious no-brainer?
I mean, I live my life on social media a lot, like there's pretty much nothing people don't know about me. Mm-hmm. I mean, this shows a side that's not so much like in the mainstream of the Snapchat, but like, for example, my daughter got married, a month ago, and I put the whole thing on social media. So I mean, there's not that much of a line between my private and my public life, really. Mm-hmm. So I didn't hesitate at all. My wife and my kids were a little bit more hesitant, because I don't put them on social media very often.
Right.
Certainly not the way Jean-Simon did. There's no like interviews and like in-depth stuff. It's more like funny little skits and things like that. So they had a little bit of hesitation, but my wife's a trooper, as you saw in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my favorite parts of the movie are the scenes with your daughter. I think she has such interesting commentary, and it's just she's really interesting to watch. What was it like watching those scenes and watching the scenes with your family when you finally did see the film?
Look, I memean, she's my daughter, so I know her for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was nice. Look, I mean, I raised her. My wife and I raised her. We tried to raise her anyway to be very grounded. You know what I mean? Like to have convictions and to stand by them, and not be like so wishy-washy. And so I think that comes through in the movie. She's very principled. That's the word I would use.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's not every day that you get a documentary made about you. What was it? Did you get to see early cuts of it while it was in process, or was it just like you saw the whole thing in one go? And what was that like?
Yeah, no, I really just saw the whole thing in one go. I really didn't see any cuts. I just saw it. I mean, I was there when it was filmed, so.
Right, but was it strange to see all of it like laid out like that? You never know.
It was a little, because I knew that there had to be some kind of counterbalance. It can't just be me. Oh, everything's great, and I know there's got to be some kind of counterbalance. So, obviously those scenes and the scenes shot with the other doctors in the Dr. Miami squad. I mean, obviously I wasn't there for that filming, so that was very interesting to see their perspective. And of course, you did see the perspective of people who either are not into social media or not into plastic surgery. Right. So that was certainly for me, that was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting to see the whole thing laid out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like what was it like when you see? I know there's the scenes with the other surgeons who don't really like what you do with the social media. Are those surgeons you're familiar with and that and like, is that just something you're kind of used to at this point?
I'm kind of used to, in general, I would say 95% of surgeons have gotten on board with social media. I mean, it's just a part of doing business and just a part of marketing plastic surgery these days. And and those that are opposed to it, you know, they'll probably come around eventually.
Right.
You know,
I mean, like the whole thing is the before and after videos are such a big point of what
it's such a big point. I mean, it's not just, I mean, it's just social media. It's a perfect way to communicate what plastic surgery does. It's so visual, you know,
Right.
and what we do is so visual. It's not like if I take out your gallbladder, you don't know whether I did a great job or a crappy job.
Right.
You'll never know the difference. But when you see before and after pictures, anybody can judge, you know, and see what's better or worse.
Right, totally. And then another part of the documentary is the kind of commentary about your religion and how that kind of goes with your plastic surgery
Right.
and your videos.
Right.
Is this something that you would want like people in your shul to see, or people in the Orthodox community? Do you think it would give them a better idea of your relationship with your religion and your like outlook on life?
I mean, I've been in the same place here for more than 20 years, you know, the same community. I think people know me, you know, like I said, for 20 years, the people who live in my neighborhood, like I'm not in Borough Park, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not in Flatbush or Lakewood or Jerusalem. You know, I'm in Miami Beach. So it's a little bit of what we call an out of town community, you know, like out of the mainstream of Orthodox Jewish life.
Right.
On the other hand, yeah, I mean, look, I'm a character. I'm a unique person, you know, based on how I was raised and where I ended up in life, you know. But like, if you're like for example, like my daughter, you know, who was raised Orthodox and like I said, on a different path, I don't think she would make a great plastic surgeon in Miami Beach. I think you got that right from the picture.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be her choice.
It wouldn't be her choice. Yeah.
Yeah. But is that still something you grapple with?
I still get pangs of guilt and conscience. But yeah, you know, I think as I get older, I get more, I don't know, I get more mellow.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, I don't lose too much sleep over that kind of stuff. You know, I think that, you know, in the end of the day, you know, my relationship with God is personal. You know,
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I think that's kind of how I would leave it.
Yeah. But speaking of your videos, you have such like a sense of style and like, did you have any chance to kind of be part of the creative process of the documentary, or was that kind of something you were completely separated from?
Completely separated from, but I think it's just a vibe that Miami gives off, you know, like, and Jean-Simon captured it very well, that whole Miami vibe, you know,
Absolutely.
which like we live with. So it's like, it's like normal for us, but I can only imagine how that, you know, how that vibe feels to people in other countries or in other parts of America.
Yeah, I mean, when I tell people about this documentary, the first thing I tell them is just like, it's so Miami.
It's very Miami, yeah.
It's like, you're so Miami, and the style of the documentary is so Miami.
Right.
But so what are your favorite things about Miami? You're so Miami, the documentary is so Miami. Like, what makes you love the city so much?
Oh, you know, I like that it's, I mean, I love the weather, obviously, like everybody else. You know, people come from all over, a lot of tourists in town, a lot of South American influences. It's very Jewish. It's got a very Jewish, for me anyway, Miami Beach feel. You know, I lived in St. Louis for medical school, which was not very Jewish. So
Yeah.
I have like some compare and contrasts. And I went to college in Brooklyn, which is like super Jewish. So for me, it's a nice mix. You know, it's a nice balance. And for plastic surgery, there's really no better place except maybe Beverly Hills, which is also kind of Jewish too.
Well, so there's a scene in the movie when you're trying to make the sign and then the artwork that you wanted to put up. Whatever happened with that? Is that something that's still in process?
Yeah, it's still in process. You know, I decided, well, obviously the COVID thing is kind of put all the meetings are out, but that's still a work in progress. You know, I have a good friend who's on the council, who's on the town council here. So, you know, for a couple months, I just want to go easy on them a little bit.
Yeah.
See if, I think once all this like COVID stuff is over, we can go back to having fun again. But yeah, I just like, you know, if anybody's watching who's lived in a small town where you have like local elected politicians, and I mean, Bay Harbor's got like 4,000 or 5,000 people. It's pretty small.
Yeah.
And just kind of like how they have the people on the mayor, town council kind of run things like a little, you know, a little fiefdom. And sometimes there's like silly rules about, you know, what color your house can be or how big your sign can be, you know, things like that. So
Yeah.
People get a kick out of it when I go there and just kind of mock them a little bit.
Are you still planning on using that same artwork?
Why not? I mean, as long as
I love it.
I mean, it's a little, it's going to be a little dated after the next election. I don't know. It's like Trump
Right,
and Pelosi and me and a horse. So I got to get that in before the election. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's great. And so, how is everything with COVID? Like, you know, I know you have like a long waiting list for patients and stuff. How does this affect everything?
It's pretty. You know, look, it's like it's pretty horrible actually. Besides the obvious reasons, but like specifically for my practice. Because the waiting list is so long, it's like having a giant, if you have a diesel train with like 3 cars, it's no big deal if it stops. But if you have a diesel train with like 200 cars and it stops, everything piles up against it. So we're just doing our best to reschedule. As soon as the governor says that we can reopen, we will when it's safe. And then I'll just have to work more days, you know, work Sundays and Fridays and get everything in. But yeah, no, it's yeah, look, I just want to get back to work like everybody else, you know?
Yeah, look, us too. Yeah, we're just trying to find ways to cope with it. Yeah, I mean, another thing is your videos are so creative and fun. Where do those ideas come to you? Like, how do you come up with those? I think one of the best parts of the documentary is they show so many of them throughout the runtime. Right.
I mean, I was kind of a class clown in high school and medical school. I was literally class clown in medical school. That's what that was like the superlative, you know?
Yeah.
There are like other, you know, which I guess is better than being like, you know, most likely to be arrested or something, you know? So it's not bad. But so, and like in med school and college, I would always do like skits and stuff, always be involved in like whatever kind of follies and things they wanted to do. So I just repressed that for like 20 years while I was doing my training and getting my practice going. But then once social media, you know, became popular, it was just like the natural expression of all that pent up creativity that I've been like bottling up. But the ideas come from me and the rest of the staff. I mean, like I draw off the energy of my staff, like Rosie, my sister-in-law, you know, Brittany and Ashley, when they were there, we were just like, just have fun. It just made going to work, you know, like fun. It wasn't like work, you know? I mean, I love doing the surgery. The surgery is fantastic, but being able to also be creative and like make people laugh and smile is even better than that.
Do you have a favorite video that you've made?
My favorite video. Oh, I mean, I don't know. There was a skit once we did with another doctor from Long Island where I mean, I don't think you'll understand it, but it was pretty funny. We basically had him become like birthed out of Brittany. He like, we had like a stirrups and like she was like pregnant. And then he came out from between her legs under the gown, like covered in mucus. It was like, or no, sorry. He came out from between her legs, like covered in mucus as like a little baby. I mean, these are like grown men, board certified surgeons just acting ridiculous. And we had so much fun. I mean, there was so many fun. I mean, in the movie, they showed the skit with Dr. Bay, you know, as a pimp, you know, walking across from San Francisco all the way to Miami. Yeah, pretty fun.
Yeah, I'll just add, is there anyone in particular that you would like your dream collaborator for one of your videos, like rap artist or actor or anyone?
Yeah, I would love to do. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the obvious people would be like, well, when Michael Blackson came by, we had a lot of fun too. I don't know if you know him; he's a comedian. You did right. So, but like Michael Blackson, Kevin Hart would be fun. I'd like to do a video with Lil Dicky. I think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be great. You know, because we're both Jewish too, and both kind of like we're both a little bit like fish out of water. You know. Yeah.
Well, that actually reminds me. My next question. Sometime in the past year, you posted on Snapchat the first penis enlargement surgery you've done.
Yes.
And that your Snapchat got taken down, and it was a big thing that you're petitioning to save Dr. Miami. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, because I put up so many naked female bodies on Snapchat for 5 years and it never got taken down. And then we did like one guy and like within hours, gone. I think it's a little bit of a double standard there, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But
yeah.
Is that still a problem that you're having with Instagram and Snapchat with like
no
specific content?
No, I haven't gotten taken down or anything. But like for Instagram is very, very prudish. Like Instagram, you can't show any nudity whatsoever. Twitter is like anything goes. Snapchat is pretty much anything goes. Sometimes they'll send you like a warning, but I think they only send a warning if somebody reports it, which is like, it's like, why are you following Dr. Miami if you don't want to see plastic surgery,
Right.
So.
And so is that still a problem on Snapchat, or that was?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I haven't had any issues at all since, I think that was in October. And since October, it's been fine. That's
great. So another thing, there's a whole segment in the documentary about Brazilian butt lifts and some, how Miami has had a large amount of cases of people who weren't qualified to do the surgeries and deaths during Brazilian butt lifts. Is that still a big problem right now? And what's going on?
Actually, it's funny you mention that. Just yesterday, because all the plastic surgery conferences have been canceled or postponed because of COVID. They did a virtual conference just this weekend, and there's the new data on Brazilian butt lifts is actually very, very good. From my perspective, anyway. The death rate in the original study that kind of got everybody worried was 1 in 3,500, which seemed high at the time. When they went back and looked at the actual statistics, it turns out that study was seriously flawed. So they went back and did another study. They just published it this week, and the actual death rate when you do the fat transfer subcutaneous. Now they're not injecting the fat into the muscle, which is where the danger is. The actual mortality rate is 1 in 15,000. Which is less than a tummy tuck. It's safer than a tummy tuck, basically. So
that's good.
So as long as people are trained properly, I think the big problem was that people didn't know any better. But now unfortunately there were deaths. But once people went through the autopsies and figured out what they were doing wrong, we were able to quickly change the technique and tell people how to do it right. Now, I was lucky because I never injected fat into the muscle. It's just something I wasn't trained to do it that way. It's not how I learned the operation. But other people were. It's not their fault. They just didn't know any better. So yeah, that's been the answer. That was a long answer for a short question. But the answer is the BBL is much safer now than it was 2 years ago when that was
still. That's good to know. But I mean, so I know the documentary definitely has a focus on the Brazilian butt lifts because that seems to be what a lot of people come to you for. Is that your favorite surgery, or do you have a favorite procedure?
I love just any operation. Obviously I've been focusing the last 10, 15 years on body work, on women's body work, post-pregnancy, mommy makeover type stuff. Just any operation that makes these women feel confident again and resets the clock. They get so happy. It makes me happy. And it's like the energy is just awesome. So that it's not the operation. It's not like technically I enjoy making an incision and sewing and this and that. It's the emotional change that happens from before to after. That's what I really like. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, in the documentary, I thought it was really interesting and how it starts out. You mentioned that your wife had an accident and ended up wanting to get plastic surgery for her lip, and that was sort of like your
that's the first time I ever saw plastic surgery or a plastic surgeon. At the time, I wanted to be a brain surgeon. I mean, I was following neurosurgeons around, watching spine surgery and neurosurgery. I thought that was so interesting and cool. But then, because of her accident, I got to meet a plastic surgeon, and I was like, wow, this is really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it's like magic. Like when you see the before and after pictures, it's really hard to wrap your head around.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's like magic. Even today, even now, even after all these years.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, you mentioned the other plastic surgeons. They mentioned kind of like you have a squad. I think it said 15 of you. How does that work?
Especially like this time with the corona time. Like we have, in fact, just this afternoon, we had a Zoom conference, all of us. So like we just, it's like, we're just able to help each other, give each other ideas. When something new comes up or anyone has an issue, we can lean on each other. It's really, really nice. And it's we've got 15 guys right now in the squad. We've had as many as 40. And I also, in addition to that, we have just a separate organization that you saw in the movie, the WAGs, which is just dedicated to BBLs. And that has, I think, close to 300 surgeons now. We have a giant WhatsApp chat group that just buzzes. I mean, it's just all day long buzzing with people going back and forth.
Mhm.
So like, and especially through this Corona thing, it was really good because we got to like, because some of the surgeons are in other countries, other continents, we were able to share information before the mainstream, medical publications had it. We were able to talk with each other. Somebody in our, like for example, somebody in India is doing this, they're giving chloroquine, and this is their protocol, or etc. What do you mean this medication? So we're able to share all that stuff. We were able to get find out about those COVID finger stick tests before anybody else. So that's the medical intellectual benefit of having a group like that. But then also just like emotionally to be able to share ideas.
Yeah. And so how has COVID affected your kind of like your social media presence? So have you been kind of finding new ways to keep that active?
It's in the beginning I was trying to, because my social media tends to be light and fluffy, like real fun and stuff. And it was just such a serious time, that it felt a little wrong to be totally, not serious. So I tried to mix it up. I did a lot of educational, lives like this, talking about COVID, talking about getting tested, talking about the new finger stick kits and whatever, anything else I thought might be relevant to keep people safe. I tried to do a little bit of silly stuff, but after a couple of weeks, I'm like, I took like 2 weeks break where I did nothing silly, and then I think just like yesterday, the day before, I did my first like funny post-COVID sketch because, I'm not a comedian like professionally, although that would be great. It's not the reality. So I'm a doctor, so I have to, walk that line.
And I mean, is it easier to get tested now? Are you finding in Miami it's easier to get tested for COVID?
Yeah, now there's I mean, it's everywhere. They can get tested anywhere. There's like there's a one on Miami Beach, there's one by the Aventura Mall parking lot. There's like there's tons of testing if you want it, if you need it. For symptoms. The what's coming down the pipeline is going to be that all the doctors' offices will have these little machines. They draw a little bit of blood and run it in 15, 20 minutes. So we already ordered one of those machines, which they say should be here soon. And then the actual COVID cartridges for it should be available in June. So within, 6 weeks or so, I think most doctors' offices will have the ability themselves in-house to just quickly take some blood and do it. I don't think it'll be an issue.
Well, that's good. I mean, also in the documentary, you mentioned that you want to retire in the next 13 years. I guess that was maybe
12 now. It's 12 now.
12. So is that still your plan? And do you think you would still be as active on social media once you retire? Or can you, I feel like it's so part of your personality now. Would that be hard to give up?
Probably will. Probably be hard to give up. I don't know if I'll give it up. Why should I? But who knows? 12 years is such a long time frame.
Right.
Instagram could be a thing of the past in 12 years. Could be something else. Could be a chip in your eye or something.
Right.
Broadcast directly into Lauren's brain. Who knows? It's hard to know what they'll be in 12 years. I do want to stay active though, and like still, maybe teach a little, do some public speaking at medical schools or undergraduates stuff. And, I will say this, the best thing for me with the COVID-19 is being able to spend so much time with my boys, my daughter just got married. She's in Jerusalem with her husband. They literally were like one of the last weddings they were able to have in Jerusalem before they shut it down.
Yeah.
But they've been together, like literally together night and day for 6 weeks. It's like the best I would love that. It's like the best honeymoon. It's like they literally can't leave each other's presence.
Right.
And I've been here with my boys, and being a surgeon, being on social media, life and everything, you never really get to stop and spend time with, and they have friends that come over. But now no friends can come over. It's just us it's just me, my wife, and the boys. I told my boys, if I was on my deathbed, right, and I was 80 years old, and someone said, how much would you pay right now to go back and spend 6 weeks with your teenage sons? I say it's priceless, whatever price I mean, it's like, who gets to do that? So obviously there's a serious financial loss with the practice not operating, but to compensate for it, you get to spend time with the kids. So
did you guys all binge watch Tiger King together?
No, I'm only on the second episode. I'm only on the second episode. I had listened to the podcast a few years ago when they were doing the podcast about it. So I kind of knew it, but not just to put the visual connection. It's better even.
Have you had an opportunity to watch the documentary like with your family? Did you guys all sit down
No,
together to watch
no,
it
we haven't. We haven't. We
tonight?
haven't. My wife, maybe tonight, we'll sit and watch it. My wife watched it. My mom watched it. My sister watched it. But we haven't sat down to watch it as a family. That'll be fun.